Sandpiper Sally, you're Tracy's only friend. Sandpiper Sally.
The story is this: Desperado and Tracy and I were living in Santa Barbara in our little apartment, having a nice life. I had finally decided that the only way that I could have Desperado and be able to just keep a normal job was to take her to daycare, create a daycare. So there was no such thing in Santa Barbara, but I started taking her to the dog ranch in the mornings and picking her up in the evenings. No one was doing that in those days, but that was the only way that I could, and I was working for Peter Link's high fashion shoe company in Santa Barbara, and keeping Desperado in the Carpinteria Dog Ranch took about half my salary, but at least I could have Desperado with me, and we went to Hendry's Beach every night, and she ran like the wind every night, and we had a great life. And then we were getting ready to, because of Doug Otto, about to lose Decker's Outdoor, and Tracy wanted to give it one last chance. And I had promised Doug that 2 years before then, that I was going to come up with a product that would save Decker's. That was my quote, and I wasn't able to do it. In the meantime, that was right around when I designed my guitar strap. If we'd stayed in Santa Barbara, I undoubtedly had the equipment there in the apartment. I would have made my guitar straps and started selling them locally, and I would be a local legend, at least for my guitar straps. But instead, we gave up everything and set out on the road to save Decker's Outdoor. But right as we were in the process of doing that, Desperado had one of these sessions. Appreciative of Tracy, as she just said, screw it. Whatever we have to do, we'll just let Desperado live with us. And that's how she ended up going to daycare every day and taking most of my salary, or at least a good chunk of it. And but at least I had my dog, and that was Tracy's idea, so I always took my hat off to her for that. Thanked her. Desperado looks at me and says, "I'm ill. You need to do something." And she didn't look ill, and she was the fastest dog on the beach almost, and at 11 you couldn't tell that she wasn't still a puppy in many, many ways. But it concerned me, and she already had a heartworm and from living in California, and so I just began a new series. So I had put her on a natural diet, and in researching the natural diet, I'd researched veterinarians that were specialists and highly recommended in California, and I took her to one, and I said, "There's something wrong with my dog," and he checked her out and said, "There doesn't appear to be anything wrong with your dog." And I said, "Well," she told me there is, so let's do blood work. And even though it was expensive and he thought it was unnecessary, he called me up and he said, "Well, you're the first person in history that caught a stage 1 lymphoma with no symptomology." And I said, "Well, Desperado told me." And that's what she had. She had lymphoma, and we caught it as early as humanly possible. And ultimately, it didn't do any good. It did tear me up, and it did ruin our trip. It did ruin our lives that we were going to have, living in a motorhome, traveling up and down the beautiful California coastline with a dog who enjoyed the coastline, and she loved the ocean, and it changed everything. It just put a note of sadness on it. But the biggest thing that it did to me is it made me realize there was going to come a time when I was going to have to make this fateful decision about not just anything but my soulmate, Desperado. And the fact that she's the one, the weekend that her last weekend must have been she died on October 8th, 1984, so it must have been the 7th and 6th was Saturday and Sunday, and I know I made the appointment on Saturday because she had looked at me and said, "It's time." And I said, "Okay, I'll somehow do it." And I somehow pushed my way all the way through the whole process. But Sunday night, I stayed up all night with her, and by that time she wasn't able to walk around, so I would have to carry her outside to relieve her, and I would move her around to, change positions, help her do everything like that. And Monday morning came around, and we took her to the vets, a couple of them, and Desperado was on the was on the table, and Tracy was here, I was here, Desperado was here, and I was holding her, talking to her, and right above my head there was a speakerphone. There was a speaker in the ceiling, and it had the typical LA drive time rock station, soft rock, I guess, probably, or something like that. In the vet's office, it was the #1 station in Los Angeles. I forget whether it was King MET or KR Rock or something, I forget. But at the time, I looked it up at the time, or we had it on our car too. And as we were waiting for the doctor to arrive, I started to hear a song that was being played in the ceiling. It was Olivia Newton-John, who I always thought was cute, but I wasn't familiar with the song. It was called "You've Got to Believe We Are Magic," and it held on to me in a way. It started to speak to me, and that song is a song about a spirit looking down and protecting, a guardian angel. That's what that song is about. The doctor came in, and it was my least favorite doctor at that clinic, so I don't know if that's a bad sign, good sign, whatever it is, it is. And we spoke for a few moments, and he told me how quickly it was going to go, and he gave her a shot, and I felt her life force leave her body, and I followed her spirit back up to the ceiling, the speaker in the ceiling, and the instant that she left, the beginning chords of Desperado began to play. It wasn't the Eagles' version of Desperado, it was Linda Ronstadt's version of Desperado. And we stayed and listened to that, and then immediately after that they started to play the Eagles' version of Desperado, and Tracy thought we should just leave then and go out and hear the rest of the song in the car. That would get us out of the building. That would get us moving again. We were a couple. We did do that for each other. And when we were good, before the swindle, but the swindle was everything, Sally. And it twisted Tracy on purpose because of Pam. Tracy twisting her on purpose. But right then, I got my answer. That was Desperado's time. That was so the important parts of the Desperado story is that love is real, it's a real force, and